Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, desolators, peasants, vassals, sex maniacs. I'm a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about, oh yeah, Dominique Strauss-Khan and the Culture of Depravity. And I did a video about this probably almost a year ago now, about Dominique Strauss-Khan and the Culture of Depravity. And the whole premise that Strauss-Khan is actually giving us a glimpse into a world of sexual abandonment and prostitution and all the best depravity that money can buy in the higher echelons of our world corporate banking government culture. Of course, we get glimpses of this all the time. The Petraeus affair is just the most recent in the U.S., but in Europe, we have a whole culture of libertine activities that is far more acceptable. And of course, Berlusconi, the former premier of Italy, is a good example. Here he was renowned for his underage teenage sex parties, and yet he is a very well-respected politician in Italy. And we find that same culture in France, of course, and Dominique Strauss-Khan gives us a good glimpse into that world. So anyway, now Dominique Strauss-Khan is in the news again because he has settled the case where he was charged or indicted several years ago for raping a maid from New Guinea in a New York hotel room. And so anyway, he's settled that finally, and I think she ended up with somewhere between $1 and $9 million. So he's not admitting any guilt, but he is anteing up, and so she's a happy girl. And Dominique Strauss-Khan is also in the news recently because some details about this world of sex have come out because of a new investigation of a prostitution ring in France. And then, lo and behold, Dominique Strauss's name pops up. And there's some pretty lurid details, and this is pretty great. And I love the newspaper article. Not only does it have a really good picture of him, but it says Strauss-Khan says that sex parties went too far, but lust is no crime. So that's great stuff. That is great stuff. And I can't really deny his statement. But let's get into some of the gruesome details, as I like to say. So as it turns out, there's a clandestine practice in certain powerful circles of French society where secret soirees with lawyers, judges, police officials, journalists, politicians, corporate heads, and musicians. And these soirees start with fine meals and end up with all the guests naked in having public sex and orgies. So this confirms my speculations in the last video. So now I am redeemed and I have confirmation that is exactly what I suggested, that we have an upper echelon, upper hierarchy, and these are even just the equivalent of worldwide mid-management suck-ups. These aren't even the big players. We can only imagine what kind of sexual depravity they indulge in. But here we have, as we would suspect, lawyers, judges, police officials, journalists, politicians, corporate heads, and musicians all involved in these sex parties. And in France, these exclusive orgies are called parties fines, and they are lavish champagne affairs costing around $13,000 each. And they're organized as a roving international circuit from Paris to Washington, D.C., and they're set up by businessmen seeking to ingratiate themselves with the likes of up-and-comers like Dominique Strauss-Khan. And much of the money goes towards prostitutes, no surprise there. And the article says, quote, because of a shortage of women, unquote. So, no surprise there. I mean, we all know that there's always a shortage of women in orgies. Very unfortunate fact. So anyway, so in this case, they arranged a dozen parties over 4 years. So that's three or four parties a year, and Strauss-Khan would always arrive late. But so here we have a pretty clear picture of what's going on, and let's extrapolate the fact that this is going on hundreds and thousands of times over all over the globe with these same kind of players all over the world. There's no reason why they wouldn't indulge in this sort of behavior. Anyway, we get back to Strauss-Khan. Apparently he had a preference for 3 or 4 women at the same time. And Strauss-Khan's lawyers argue he was unaware some of the women were prostitutes because they were all naked by the time he got there. And in France, hiring a prostitute is not illegal, but solicitation and pimping is. So in France, they have the wherewithal to make sure that the politicians are not liable when they hire prostitutes. But if you pimp them out or ask for sex, then you can be arrested. So there's probably a high likelihood that this kind of activity is going on all over France. And I also thought it was interesting the fact that they said it's a roving international circuit from Paris to Washington, D.C. And no surprise that that kind of behavior goes on in Washington, D.C. as well. We got a glimpse of that with the Elliot Spitzer case, where he was busted with an extremely high-priced call girl. So once again, he's a relatively small player. So this is the culture of depravity that we have in the world of elites. And what good is all that money if you can't act out every sexual fantasy you've ever had? And of course, with that kind of money, that kind of power, the kind of women that will fulfill those sort of fantasies are going to be more than willing. So there you have it. And I want to finish with the fact that Dominique Strauss-Khan's biography, Michael Taubman, still insists that Strauss-Khan is a, quote, man of incredible moral strength, unquote. I have to agree. To arrive to a party late and then have sex with 3 or 4 women at a time takes a man of incredible moral strength. I would have to agree. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.